Dang, look at that. Look how nice it turned out. It's all painted up, mocked up, brakes on, rack and pinion in. What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. We're back at it on the 49. I've done a few things since last time you guys saw it. Cleaned some things up, got some things reassembled. Basically just doing some rust prevention right now. I just want to get some of the stuff, like some of the suspension was bare metal, and the core support that I'm gonna have to start mocking the fenders back up with. So I wanted to get some of that stuff painted, and of course the new suspension. So I'll turn you guys around, show you what I've gotten done. So you can see that's the core support there. Just got that painted. I'm using some just regular old chassis paint on all this stuff. But yeah, you guys can see the front suspension's all painted up and somewhat just kind of mocked up again. I haven't torqued anything down. I haven't really done any final assembly on any of it, so just kind of getting it back up there. And then I want to get everything put on, you know, the rack, make sure that fits, the brakes, just everything at this point. So that's kind of what I'm going to do in this video, is get every part that I have put back on it, and just make sure everything fits right, and that it looks like you know, I don't have any issues with any of the parts that go to the suspension. So, but yeah, man, I'm super pumped about it being all together now, and it's all blacked out. I mean, obviously you guys can see where I quit painting the frame here. So all I did all this for was just to cover up the bare steel. So when eventually this body is going to get taken off the chassis, and I'm going to do this to the whole suspension, or whole chassis all the way back. So it'll pretty much look like a brand new car when I get done, before I put the body back on it. But for now, this was just to, like I said, to stop the flash rusting on the new suspension parts. And, you know, like I said, we're going to put it all back together now. I mean, enough to even get the front tires and wheels on it. And I'm going to put the core support back in and put the front fenders on it. So it'll look somewhat reassembled after this video, which is going to be cool because I can't wait to see it with the full front suspension, the fenders on it, and the tires and wheels. It'll look like a car again, you know, for a second. But it's far from final assembly. It's all just mock-up still. And then once we get all this front suspension and everything final fitted and I'm happy with everything, then we'll kind of just leave it like that. And I got to go back and start working on the rear suspension of the car. So that will be next. Yeah, so basically just cutting out the trunk area and starting to put in the rear step notch in the frame. And this car is going to get 4-linked. So there'll be a 4-link suspension in the back. I got to get rid of the stock leaf springs, and the floor is getting cut out, and I'm putting a step notch in it. All that stuff, you know, you have to do for a air suspension car for it to lay out correctly and be able to drive it aired out as well. You know, like drop the bags down and leave a few inches and just cruise it. So you have to make room for all that. And eventually, like I said, the body's going to come off the chassis, and I'm going to have to cut the trans tunnel out, because once you bag it out and the drive shaft raises up into the body, it's going to hit the trans tunnel, because on these cars the trans tunnel is like super shallow in there. So all that's going to get cut out and clearanced. But it's one thing at a time. Once I get the chassis and the drive line and everything put in it, and then I can start kind of setting the body back on it and clearancing the drive shaft, the trans tunnel, and just everything, making room for that big LS and 4L60 to fit in there, and also clearance for the air suspension. So lots of work to still do, but I'm hoping to knock this thing out and at least make it drivable, a driving project, by this summer. So in the next 2 or 3 months, you will see this thing running, driving, and moving under its own power. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that, and set your notifications, and make sure you don't miss any of these episodes, because this thing's going to be really sweet when it's done. So I guess next we're just going to continue assembling this front suspension, and I got to pull out all the brake kit and make sure that that's all there and that it fits right. And after that, we can put some tires and wheels on it. So let's get into it. All right, so next we're gonna move on to installing the rack and pinion up onto the Mustang 2 crossmember. Got everything here, all the parts, hardware, so we're gonna figure out how that mounts and try to get the tie rod ends and everything onto the spindles so this thing will actually steer. Tighten anything down very hard right now just because see if how everything fits. I guess since this rack and pinion is set for the non-narrowed control arms, we have to actually trim the tie rod ends 5/8 of an inch for this all to line up here. So I guess that's what we gotta do next is shorten these tie rods. I was able to cut 5/8 of an inch off the end of the rack here. You can see that's all that it took, and I filed this down with a file and got it nice and smooth again, and the tie rod end threads right onto it, so that should be good enough for this side. So it wasn't a big deal at all. Trim that down, and now it'll have proper adjustment for the alignment. The reason I chose to have narrower suspension on these cars, the front suspension pushes the wheels way out too close to the fenders, so you can opt for narrower front suspension to be able to run a wider tire and wheel up front without worrying about crashing into the fender when you turn, especially with this being a bag car with air suspension. I didn't want any issues with rubbing the tires on the fenders, so hopefully that all works out in the end. Let's see, we still need to come out a little bit. Plenty of adjustment there. Looks like the spindle's about there. This side. Now we gotta go do that to the other side. Nice clean setup. We'll go ahead and file that end down, make it smooth, and put the other tie rod in. Really, you're just trying to put like a 45 on the end there so it mates with the threads well. Any old file will work. Looks probably good. We'll see. Yep. Take that off. Obviously, I'm just eyeballing all this for now. It's all going to need to get aligned and measured. This is all just for mocking it up and making sure everything fits. All right, well, we got the rack and pinion installed. It's looking good, looking a little more complete. As you can see, definitely went in pretty easily. So the hardest part's just trimming the ends off the inner tie rod ends. But yeah, this thing's looking good. So next, I'm gonna dig out all the Wilwood brake kit parts and start trying to figure out how this all goes together. There's quite a few parts to it, but it doesn't look like it's very complicated, so we'll get into that next. All right, so here are all the components for the Wilwood disc brake kit for one side. I already mocked up the other side over there, so I kind of already know how it goes. Like I said, it's pretty straightforward, basic setup. You just bolt the center hub plate to the rotor bolts to the hub, all the hardware, inner and outer bearings, seals, and screw in wheel studs. So I'm just gonna go through a quick fast forward assembly of it. So if you guys have any questions on this brake kit or how to put this together, if you're thinking about getting it, just drop me some comments down below. All right, so there you go, you guys. We got the Wilwood brake kit mocked up, and by no means was that a final assembly. It's basically just making sure everything clears and installs right. We're gonna go back and do a final torque sequence on everything. All the nuts and bolts will get Loctite on it, and I'll give you guys a quick shot of that when I eventually do it. But You can see it looks sweet. These brakes are nice, man. I'm super happy with them. They're definitely nicer brakes than I'm used to installing on stuff. So yeah, I mean, last time you guys saw it, man, it was kind of just bare, mocked up, no paint. So the paint looks great on it. I'm super happy with the chassis paint. Got the core support in, so next we're going to be throwing fenders on it, and I'll be able to put tires and wheels on it and jack the tire and wheel up into the fender well to see how it's going to lay out. Super excited to see that come to an end. But that's going to do it for this video. I hope you guys liked it. Make sure that you turn on your notifications so you don't miss any of the future videos. Make sure that you subscribe if you're new to the channel, and leave me some comments on what you guys think about this install. I think it's coming along awesome. Definitely looks insane from where we started. If you guys haven't seen the other videos, make sure you go back and watch pretty much the day I brought this old 75-year-old Chevy home. Definitely didn't have any of this on it. It was all original. So make sure you guys go and follow, subscribe, and make sure you watch the whole series of this thing. There's going to be a lot more content coming. We got to get that LS dropped in here with the 4L60, and it's going to be awesome. And then after that, we're going to go back and start the rear suspension. It's going to get a step notch and 4-link. And after that, the body's going to come off, and we're going to completely restore the chassis like all this. It's going to look pretty much new. And then I'll probably just drop that old ratty body back on it. We got to cut the trans tunnel out of it to make sure it, you know, the drive shaft can raise up into the car and it can lay out correctly. So definitely a lot more content coming. Make sure that you guys follow and subscribe. And I will see you guys on the next video. Later.